I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, July the 22nd, brought to you in part by Noromycin. Noromycin 300 LA is an economical 300 milligram oxytetracycline that delivers the same amount of antibiotic as the 200 milligram option in a lower volume dose. For more information, go to norbrook.com. Cleaning up the summer yearlings, they are shipping loads and loads and drives of yearlings off the Flint Hills and the Osage every day, ever since the middle of July, and it'll go up through the first week of August on those double stock pastures there. But a lot of yearlings be coming off of there. And then we'll have some more of them come later on people that have their own country out there and not leasing it and not on the double stock. But looking forward to August the 1st, my good buddy cattle buyer Jimmy Craig, an icon in the industry, has invited me to come along to a cowboy delivery there outside of Cottonwood Falls there. So I'm looking forward to doing that here in a week or so. But we're seeing lots of yearlings coming off those pastures, and not all in the Flint Hills and outside regions there, but it's starting to get dry out there. But we're seeing big runs coming through some of the sales, and I feel like we're getting towards the end because we're starting to get to some plainer yearlings now. And in your feedlots that really go after those yearlings, starting to get a little bit pickier on them. We're starting to see a price spread in those yearlings, as we've seen in some of our big sales like Pratt, Kansas, and places like that. And the better kind are bringing a bigger premium to some of those plainer yearlings that are coming off. But we're going to see a lot of yearlings coming the next couple of weeks, and we're going to see big runs in the winter livestock barns in Kansas. Dodge City, Kansas, going to have the King of the Ring next Saturday, and then they'll have a big run of yearlings. Then the next Wednesday, they're going to have their anniversary sale. Winter Livestock in Pratt, Kansas, going to have their Hall of Fame sale next week, and there'll be a good 5,000 yearlings there. El Reno, OKC West is expecting a big run of big yearlings coming next Wednesday for their big sale. But we're cleaning those yearlings up, going to fill up a lot of pen space, mostly in Nebraska, some in Kansas, but that we're seeing the big glut of them come off those summer pastures. Got a cattle on feed report coming on Friday here, and it scares me a little bit. Of course, it always does. We're going to have a big drum roll, and then they're going to pull the curtains back, and then we're all going to brace to see what happens next week. It's going to come after the board closes on Friday at 2 o'clock Central. Always does. But your on feed totals for July the 1st are expected to be right around 100% of the same report a year ago. So, that's not bearish or anything. 100.1 is actually the average of the analyst guess. But the placements scare me a little bit. June placements, they've got them cranked way down low on your average analyst guess at 94.7%. Now that's for June. I know the big numbers of calves coming off the drought regions in central Texas and coming up into Oklahoma have largely been in July here the last couple 3 weeks, but there was quite a few of them selling in June, and maybe more of them moving in June as compared to a year ago. So that number is a little bit questionable to me if we can keep it under 95%. If it gets larger than that, then that's going to be a bearish report. Marketings are expected to be pretty good at 102%, but we'll find out what that is here on Friday afternoon. Let's talk about your board on Thursday. August live cattle futures. And we did note that several sources saying that your open interest, the play in your live cattle pits has really dwindled. It's at its lowest it's been in 2 years. Could it be that we've just lost all of our longs and it's not keeping up with your weighted average in your 5-area feeding region at all? Of course, there's not much basis now to the southern plains, sitting real close to 136 there, but still a long ways back from where they're selling a big number of fat cattle in your northern plains. But August live cattle contracts were down just 2 cents. Not a lot of play there at 135.72. Like I said, pretty close to that 136, which is the market in the southern plains. October down 35 cents at 140.97. Your back months on live cattle down 62 cents to up 20 cents, and that's on your farthest out traded month. Feeder cattle contracts, August was up 45 cents because your grains were cheaper at 178.27. September was up 32 cents at 181.30. Back months on feeder cattle up 35 cents to up 67. And your grains were lower, and you think, well, gosh, it's been super hot. It's been under that heat dome up there across your corn belt, and it's getting really dry in the western corn belt. Of course, the eastern corn belt's in really good shape, but we had more talk of possibly getting some Ukrainian grain exports out of there through the Black Sea and places like that. You know, whether that happens or not, whether Putin allows that to happen, it's just more talk about it all the time. We haven't seen a significant amount of that Ukrainian grain leave there, but some of it has, and likely most of that has actually been stolen by Russia and then exported for their benefit. But they are expecting cooler temperatures across the corn belt next week, and maybe perhaps some moisture there. And if they could get some moisture in the western corn belt, I think that grain could stand to be a whole lot cheaper. But December new crop corn futures on Chicago Board of Trade down 16.5 cents a bushel at 573.5 on close of regular trading. Beans, November new crop down 30.75 cents at 13.01.5. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for September here at the last few days of harvest there, down 9.25 cents a bushel at 861.25. Fat cattle trade continued, but still, you know, very, very mild trade, hardly any volume anywhere. Whether or not they'll do a lot of business on Friday here, it's unclear. There's just so many cattle promised to them through the AMAs, through all the contracts and the formulas and the sweetheart deals. They just don't need that many cattle in the open market. And they do have the chain speeds cranked up here pretty well, because the box beef cutout values are better than they expected them to be here in the heat of the summer. But just a very disappointing volume of trade in your 5-area feeding region. Of course, Colorado's confidential. We don't get to see any of that, but we know that Colorado has got the best grading percent of any of the 5-area feeding regions, but still not getting a third packer coming in there and competing for those cattle. So we don't get to see what's happening there. Iowa, about 1,900 head confirmed on Thursday. 7,900 head, that's all so far this week, and they normally sell 20,000 or better. But didn't have any live sales confirmed in Iowa on Thursday. Dress sales from 225 to 232, and that 232 dressed is as good as we had last week, but your market overall is lower. Weighted averages are going to be lower, and unless something really changes here on Friday. Nebraska, just 1,000 head confirmed on Thursday, about 24,000 for the week, which is closer to normal for them, but they're usually up over 30. But the only live sale in Nebraska confirmed on Thursday was 142 live. Dress sales lower from 225 to 228. Kansas, about 2,300 head, and they've only sold about 1,000 more than that altogether this week. That is way down from what they typically sell, but your market's still at 136, few at 135. Texas, another 600 head, and they've sold 8,400, which is close to what they normally sell there, because they rarely get over 10,000, which would be enough to make it a robust market in Texas, but all at 136. But when they sell 4,600 head out of pretty much one feedlot on a Tuesday at 136, that just pulls the rug out from everybody else. And then they're either going to have to take the 136 or just bull up and not trade. And I think we're seeing a little bit of both of that in the southern plains here, especially in Kansas. That's one reason they haven't sold hardly anything. But box beef cutout values lower on Thursday after hitting a high for the summer just a couple of days ago. But choice cuts on Thursday afternoon down 277 at 267.76. Select down 172 at 240.53. Your slaughter's running at a really good pace, 497,000 up through Thursday. That's just 3,000 less than the impressive 500 that they had last week at this time, but 25,000 more than the same week a year ago. Actual slaughter information come back for the week ending July the 9th, and it's kind of bearish there because your average dressed steer carcass weight jumped back up there 7 pounds to 890 pounds on the average of a dressed steer carcass there. But talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Thursday, and it is really late here. I traveled to Prescott, Arizona on Thursday to be here to speak at the lunch convention on Friday for Arizona Cattle Growers Association. Anytime you travel anymore, you're going to have delays, and I guess if they get you there the day that you're expected to get there, they think that's good enough anymore. But it's really frustrating to travel these days. But real-time index late in the day on Thursday is sitting at 169.64. That was down another 60 cents, and it's been down a couple of bucks this week. But don't forget on Monday, you guys that are looking for yearlings, Montgomery, Alabama Stockyards is going to have one of their board sales. It's going to be on DV auction. They've been doing that here for the last several months, but be sure to tune in to the Montgomery Stockyards board sale. I think they got about 40 lots on there. Going to be a lot of loads of yearlings, and they're pretty darn good cattle, guys. And coming off that ryegrass, they do have some calf lots on there too. But don't forget Montgomery Stockyards on Monday, and also Elgin, Nebraska. Elgin Livestock Sales, my friend Ted Baum and the Baum brothers, they're going to have a really good sale there in Elgin. Expecting several long strings of yearlings, including the King family. Going to have about 700 head in there, and they're going to have some grass yearlings. You don't get that in eastern Nebraska this time of year that much, but get in there to Elgin Livestock and pay attention to that sale on Monday. But talk about your big sales on Thursday. Winter Livestock in Pratt, Kansas, 3,300 head there, and the market was kind of uneven, and it's mostly due to that quality change that I was talking about at the beginning of the report. We saw some really nice loads sell about steady with what they've been bringing. We see some plainer ones selling off the market a little bit, but overall your steers were lower and your heifers were some higher with some impressive strings of heifers selling there in Pratt. But cows, $12 to $13 lower. I talked about how this cow market has fallen completely out of bed, guys. And it might be a good time to try to get a hold of some thin cows if you've got something to feed them, guys. If you've got a long bag of silage out there, or you've got somewhere to put some pounds on thin cows, these cows are going to come back. But there's just been such a glut of these cows coming out of central Texas and now into Oklahoma and other places that are getting dry. There's an opportunity there, and if you've got some feed, don't miss the opportunity to put cheap weight on any kind of cattle, and you'll have the cat by the tail, guys. But next week, don't forget the Hall of Fame sale in Pratt, Kansas, expecting about 5,000 head of grass yearlings for it. But look at your automated market report from Cattle Market Central out of Pratt, Kansas on Thursday there. And you see the best tested weights are up in your yearlings. 450 head of 8-weight yearling steers there. They averaged 882, so that's on the upper end, is one reason that they're called lower. They're on the upper end of the 8-weights because they were mostly weighing close to 9, but a weighted average price on all your 8-weight steers in Pratt was $161.71. 476 head of 9-weight steers in Pratt averaged $935 with a weighted average price on all of them of $160.10, but they did have a couple loads of fancy 9-weight yearling steers there that bring over $173, so that just gives you an idea what a wide spread we have there on those yearlings in as your buyers are getting a little more picky as to kind. How about heifers? 708 head of 7-weight heifers there. Average 745 with a weighted average price on all of those of 165.46. 430 head of 8-weight heifers averaged 849 with a weighted average price of 153.26. Farmers and ranchers livestock in Salina, Kansas had a lighter run, about 1,200 head there. The market was called higher. Did have one stick out load there, 60 head, 875 pound steers at 177 and a quarter, and that's very impressive there. Talk about some individual quotes all around. How about Bluegrass Stockyard South in Stanford, Kentucky? Sells 58 head of 934 pound steers at 169.70, weighing over 9 and a quarter out in Kentucky, standing in the ring. Put wheels under those. How about Coffeyville Stockyards, Northtown? That's the old Coffeyville, Kansas livestock market, now owned by South Coffeyville Stockyards. And from what I hear, they're going to kind of feature feeder cattle at your north barn and more of the cows and replacements in the south barn down in Oklahoma there. But they had some pretty impressive quotes out of Coffeyville, Northtown there on Thursday, including 250 head of mixed steers, probably three colored steers there, weigh 650 at 182 and a half. Belfouche, South Dakota, they can sell them high when they have them there. Belfouche Livestock Market, and it's a whole lot different story there this year than it was a year ago this time, because it was super dry, but they've had pretty good moisture this year, and that is one spot that has been blessed with good moisture up there. But Belfouche sells 80 head, 720 pound steers at 204.50. Wow. But your Zoetis stick out sale of the day was Valentine Livestock, Valentine, Nebraska, way up there in the northwest corner of Nebraska. About 2,000 head on there, which is lighter than the big sale they had 2 weeks ago. But man, did they have some impressive quotes out of there. And I want to talk about Deb Fisher. You know, she's the champion of the Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act. She is fighting tooth and nail for competition in your fed cattle arena, because she knows that it trickles down to your yearlings and to your calves and can save your cow-calf producers. But, you know, we've said many times that she knows what's going on. Well, yeah, she's from the Sunny Slope Ranch there, and they sold their yearlings in Valentine on Thursday, including 65 head of 743 pound steers at 202. I think she kind of knows what she's doing there. 70 head of 840 pound steers of Deb Fisher's bring $186. But the National Beef Wire top quote for the day indeed come out of Valentine, Nebraska. It was the Powderhorn Ranch steers. 193 steers weighed 905 at 196 and a quarter. And that's your feeder flash for Friday.